Welcome to Cat Files Chronicles, your go-to channel for spine-tingling tales. Join me, CL, as I delve into the chilling world of nursing with today's video. 10 terrifying tales from nurses. From eerie hospital encounters to inexplicable phenomena, prepare to be gripped by these unnerving accounts straight from the medical frontline. So, grab your blankets and brace yourselves for a journey into the unknown. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated on all our hair-raising content. Now let's dive in. In my over 2 decades working in healthcare, I've encountered some eerie occurrences that still send shivers down my spine. One such instance happened during my time at a nursing home, where staff members would often witness a spectral figure in black darting across the halls. It was an unsettling sight, consistently followed by the passing of a resident within 24 hours, and often another within the week. However, perhaps the most spine-tingling experience I've ever had was at a quaint old hospital with only around 30 beds. Tucked away in the basement lay the remnants of its past, the ancient morgue. And then there was the elevator, the lifeline connecting the basement to the main floor, right outside the nurses' station. But this elevator had a habit, a chilling one at that. In the dead of night, it would awaken, doors sliding open without warning, prompting the entire staff to scramble in search of the recently departed. One fateful night, as my co-workers and I sat huddled at the nurses' station, we were jolted by the sudden blare of a television from down the hall. The volume was cranked up to its maximum, echoing ominously through the quiet corridors. With a mixture of curiosity and apprehension, a colleague and I ventured down the dimly lit passage, following the sound to its source. At the end of the hall stood a solitary door, marked with stern, "Do not enter" signs courtesy of maintenance. Despite our trepidation, we knew there was no other option but to investigate. As we cautiously pushed open the forbidden door, the scene that greeted us sent a shiver down my spine. The room was devoid of life, save for the television perched in the corner, casting an eerie glow across the empty space. Without a second thought, I stepped forward, silencing the intrusive noise and addressing the unseen presence with a firm command to cease its disturbance. With a sense of relief, we exited the room, sealing it shut behind us, and mercifully, the television remained silent for the remainder of the night. But the memory of that chilling encounter lingered, a testament to the inexplicable mysteries that can haunt even the most mundane of places. During my time as a med tech at a lovely nursing home, I found myself on the memory care unit, where the residents were genuinely content, the facilities pristine, and every detail meticulously attended to. One of our long-standing residents, Mr. B, was a character in his own right, a cantankerous yet endearing soul who had his routines down to a science. From his designated spot in the dining room to his nightly indulgence of 3 scoops of strawberry ice cream, Mr. B had his world in order, even if it meant being a bit grumpy about it. When Mr. B inevitably passed away, it left a void in the community. Soon after, a new resident arrived, eager to make the nursing home her new home. However, fate had a peculiar twist in store. Her room, unbeknownst to her, had once belonged to Mr. B, complete with his preferred layout. One fateful night, as I went about my usual tasks after residents had retired to bed, the new resident approached me with a look of concern. She claimed there was a man in her room, urging her to leave. Assuming it was just a case of mistaken identity or perhaps a wandering resident, I accompanied her back to her room, only to find it empty. Puzzled, I returned to my duties, only for the resident to return moments later with the same complaint. As she pointed to her armchair, insisting that the man wanted her to vacate his spot, a chilling realization dawned on me. Mr. B, in some spectral form, seemed unwilling to relinquish his space to the new resident. Unsure of how to handle such a situation, I did what any reasonable person would. I sought the help of my colleague on the next shift. The third shift CNA, though initially skeptical, took matters into her own hands. With firm conviction, she confronted the unseen presence, reminding Mr. B that he was no longer among the living and that it was time to move on. To my relief, the residents settled down for the night without further disturbances. While I couldn't claim expertise in ghostly matters, That night taught me that sometimes a stern reminder is all it takes to restore peace, even in the realm beyond the living. My initiation into the nursing world began with a night shift role on a unit slowly reopening post-renovation. Nestled atop the hospital, our floor bore the weight of its varied past lives, from pediatric care to an AIDS hospice, eventually transforming into a post-acute long-term care facility. But amidst the hustle and bustle of renovations, whispers of something otherworldly lingered in the shadows. The supply closet, a desolate corridor away, cast a foreboding aura that none of us dared to traverse alone. One night, duty called me to answer a patient's light. To my surprise, the patient, fully aware and oriented, spoke of kids playing in the bathroom. Sensing something amiss, I sought guidance from a seasoned nurse. She revealed the unit's storied history, a tapestry woven with threads of past inhabitants and their lingering presence. But it wasn't just tales of the living that haunted us. The elevator, a silent sentinel of our nocturnal domain, would ascend to our floor, its doors a gateway to the unknown. Opening and closing without cause, it seemed to dance to a spectral rhythm until addressed. We dubbed this unseen entity Georgie, a nod to the mischievous spirit we'd unwittingly welcomed into our midst. A simple greeting, "Hi, Georgie," was our remedy, quelling the elevator's nightly antics. Yet, Georgie's presence was but one layer of the unit's eerie tapestry. Patients spoke of mysterious visitors, phantom figures wandering where they shouldn't, and call lights flickering in rooms devoid of life. Despite the unease, there was an underlying sense that Georgie and his cohorts meant no harm, their presence more a curious echo of bygone days than a malevolent force. And so, amidst the flickering lights and whispered echoes, we tended to our patients, comforted by the knowledge that even in the darkness, there was a flicker of familiarity in Georgie's mischievous antics. During my clinical rotation in the OB section, I found myself stationed in the nursery, tasked with observing the care provided to newborns requiring extra attention, but not yet necessitating NICU care. The nursery was a bustling hub of activity, with desks, computers, and exam rooms for mom and baby visits, along with a larger area housing isolates for the newborns. Tucked away in a corner, far from the hustle and bustle, was a small bathroom. Its automatic faucet and paper towel dispenser had developed a mind of their own, activating and deactivating throughout the night. The situation had become so troublesome that the staff resorted to leaving folded towels atop the dispenser to mitigate the wastage caused by its constant activation. More recently, I found myself in a different setting, tasked with sitting with a patient at a nursing home who had expressed suicidal ideations due to her health struggles. As I sat in the dimly lit room, the patient sleeping soundly nearby, strange occurrences began to unfold. The television, dormant and silent, suddenly sprang to life, flickering through channels before abruptly switching off again. This oddity, however, paled in comparison to what I witnessed next. Positioned to the right of the door, with the bathroom door ajar, I found myself transfixed by a peculiar sight. Despite the absence of any external light source, a shadow danced within the bathroom, its movements defying rational explanation. In that moment, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that crept over me. The logical part of my mind sought to dismiss it as a trick of the light, yet the primal instincts within me whispered of something more sinister lurking in the shadows. Working as an aide at a nursing home in my hometown, I encountered some chilling experiences that still send shivers down my spine. One summer, shortly before starting college, a kind resident's demeanor took a dark turn. They began behaving strangely, withdrawing into their room, fixating on unseen entities, and displaying hostility towards everyone. One day, I found the resident sobbing inconsolably, claiming that a shadowy figure dressed in black had been assaulting them at night. Despite our efforts to comfort and reassure them, their mental state deteriorated rapidly. It reached a climax when emergency medical services were summoned to transfer them to a psychiatric facility, only to discover the resident had concealed sharp scissors in their underwear. With their departure, the apartment became vacant, awaiting a new occupant. However, the sinister occurrences did not cease. The next resident to move in soon reported similar experiences of a malevolent presence in their room. Their mental health also declined precipitously, culminating tragically in their passing within those very walls. It was a spine-chilling coincidence that left us all shaken to the core. But the horrors didn't end there. Years later, returning to the same nursing home before my senior year of college, I encountered another inexplicable event. While making my rounds, I left the common area unattended for only a few minutes. Upon my return, I was met with a scene straight out of a horror movie. All the furniture had been inexplicably pushed against one wall. A couch, love seat, multiple chairs, tables, everything had been rearranged with eerie precision. The sheer impossibility of a resident, let alone a visitor, accomplishing such a feat in such a short span of time sent chills down my spine. It was a moment of pure terror, leaving me questioning the limits of the rational world and the boundaries of the unknown lurking within those walls. Working in healthcare, particularly in a facility with its fair share of eerie occurrences, can really keep you on your toes. There's always that one room, isn't there? The one with the strange happenings that defy all logical explanation. In this case, it's room 1, where patients often report sightings of a mysterious figure, referred to simply as her. They speak of her as if she's present, not merely a memory from the past. And then there are the flickering lights, the whispered voices, the feeling of being watched, all dismissed as mere coincidences, products of an active imagination, or the mind's way of coping with the inevitable. But one night, during your rounds, you experienced something that defied all rationalization. The door, closed and empty when you passed by earlier, was now ajar, the light on, and a silhouette visible through the curtain. Your first instinct was to playfully confront the perceived prankster, but what happened next left you shaken to the core. Your attempt to grab hold of the figure through the curtain resulted in nothing but air, leaving you sprawled across the bed in disbelief. Time seemed to slow, your senses heightened, and a feeling of dread washed over you. Even the bathroom light seemed to pulse, as if trying to signal something. Bolting back to the safety of the nurse's station, you shared your experience with your coworkers, who met it with laughter and teasing. But beneath the jokes and humorous coping mechanisms lies a lingering sense of unease, a silent acknowledgement that some things defy explanation. So now, armed with humor and a touch of superstition, you face room 1 with a mixture of bravery and trepidation. Whether it's saying a quick prayer or jokingly invoking the power of religious figures, it's your way of coping with the unknown lurking within those walls. And deep down, you know that sometimes, laughter is the best defense against the things that go bump in the night. Working the night shift on the 11th floor, an old closed-off unit occasionally utilized for overflow patients, can be quite the adventure, as I learned firsthand. One particular night, a patient raised an unusual request during the med pass. Could I ask housekeeping to refrain from emptying her trash in the middle of the night? It seemed odd, but I obliged, only to be met with a perplexing revelation. Upon contacting housekeeping, I was informed that no staff were assigned to clean the overflow unit during the night hours. This patient, fully lucid and coherent, insisted she had heard the unmistakable sounds of her trash being emptied during the previous night, disrupting her sleep. As the witching hour approached, another call bell rang out, and I hurried down the hall to attend to the patient's needs. But as I approached her room, the double doors, which required a badge swipe for access, eerily closed on their own accord. Inside, the patient vented her frustration at the intrusion of housekeeping, despite my assurances that no cleaning staff were present. Determined to get to the bottom of this mystery, I reached out to security, who meticulously examined badge swipe logs and surveillance footage. To our bewilderment, the logs showed no activity beyond the evening's routine tray pickup, and the footage revealed the doors mysteriously closing without any visible human presence. To this day, the events of that night remain unexplained, shrouded in the eerie atmosphere of the 11th floor. Rumors of hauntings have circulated, with tales of psych patients experiencing heightened distress. Eventually, the decision was made to relocate the unit to a new wing, leaving the 11th floor to serve solely as a temporary overflow space, and a whispered reminder of the unexplained phenomena that once haunted its halls. In my years working in the ICU, I've encountered my fair share of eerie incidents, but one night stands out vividly in my memory. As I assumed the role of charge nurse for the shift, I was confronted with a situation that sent shivers down my spine. A patient had passed away earlier in the day, and his body remained in the room, awaiting transfer to the morgue. With the room cleaned and sealed, the door closed, and all equipment powered down, there should have been nothing to disturb the silence that settled over the unit. Yet, as the night unfolded, an inexplicable series of events unfolded. Our monitor at the nurse's station suddenly erupted into a cacophony of alarms, indicating ventricular tachycardia emanating from the very room where the deceased patient lay. Hastening to investigate, I entered the room and powered on the monitor, only to find no signs of life or activity. Baffled and unnerved, I silenced the alarm and retreated from the room, my mind awash with questions and unease. But the strangeness was far from over. 15 minutes later, the alarms blared once more, repeating the unsettling pattern. With a sense of foreboding gnawing at my senses, I re-entered the room, repeating the process of silencing the alarm, yet finding no rational explanation for its activation. This eerie cycle persisted, each time sending a chill coursing through my veins. It was as if the spirit of the departed patient was reaching out from beyond the veil, disturbing the tranquility of the night with its spectral presence. Feeling a mixture of apprehension and curiosity, I spoke into the darkness, addressing the unseen entity with a plea to cease its disruptive actions. To my astonishment, the alarms ceased, as if in response to my words, and the room descended once more into silence. Throughout the remainder of the night, no further disturbances occurred, leaving me to ponder the inexplicable events that had unfolded before me. As dawn broke and the night's events faded into memory, I was left with a lingering sense of wonder and disquiet. For in the heart of the ICU, where life and death intersect in a delicate dance, the boundary between the tangible and the ethereal often blurs, leaving us to confront mysteries beyond our comprehension. In my time working at an old hospital for forensic patients, I prided myself on being a skeptic grounded firmly in the realm of the rational. Yet, one fateful evening shattered my skepticism and left me grappling with the inexplicable. As the patients were escorted to the dining hall, leaving the unit seemingly deserted, I found myself engaged in conversation with two fellow colleagues at the nurse's station. With the door unlocked and open, a sense of ease settled over us, unaware of the chilling events about to unfold. Suddenly, with a jarring intensity, one of the heavy steel doors leading to a patient room swung open, only to slam shut with a resounding force that reverberated through the unit. The shock of the event propelled our supervisor to action, frantically dialing the dining room to demand a head count, convinced that someone had been inadvertently left behind. In a flurry of urgency, the tech supervisor hastened to investigate the room, driven by the need to ascertain the identity of the unseen presence responsible for the disturbance. Meanwhile, I swiftly secured the door, my heart pounding with a mixture of trepidation and disbelief. In the brief moment before the door was shut, I glimpsed a shadowy silhouette through the window, a fleeting apparition that defied rational explanation. The tech supervisor ventured into the room, only to emerge moments later with a bewildered expression, confirming that it stood empty, devoid of any human presence. The nurse supervisor, compelled by a need to witness the inexplicable firsthand, arrived on the scene, confronting the eerie reality that defied all logical comprehension. Despite my years of steadfast skepticism, this chilling encounter shattered my disbelief, leaving me acutely aware of the haunting presence that lingered within the hospital's walls. From that moment on, the whispers of the night staff regarding the building's haunted reputation held a newfound weight of truth. For in the realm of the supernatural, where the boundaries between the seen and unseen blur, I found myself a reluctant believer in the inexplicable mysteries that permeated our surroundings. During a late-night shift, I escorted a patient who had passed away after a planned comfort extubation to the morgue, accompanied by the security guard. Earlier in the shift, we had engaged in conversation with the house supervisor about the rumored haunting of the operating room. As we dropped off the patient at the morgue, located oddly close to the cafeteria, we decided to make an unplanned pit stop at the post-anesthesia care unit, PACU, situated on the opposite side of the hospital. With no cameras in sight and no one aware of our whereabouts, we found ourselves in a place of eerie vibes. Suddenly, the desk phone in PACU began to ring, and I initially assumed it was a joke by the security guard, Chris. However, his terrified expression confirmed that this was no prank. As the phone continued to ring with no visible caller ID, I cautiously approached it, only for the ringing to cease the moment I reached out. We wasted no time in hastily exiting the unsettling environment. In another spine-chilling encounter while working in the ICU during the night shift, I observed a peculiar sight through the reflection in the glass. Positioned across from an empty room, with the old recovery space behind me, I caught a glimpse of a woman dressed in the attire of an old nun, complete with the iconic flying nun hat, slowly traversing the area behind me. Frozen in shock, I tentatively waved or acknowledged her presence, and she continued her silent passage without pause. It took every ounce of courage to turn around and confront the empty space that had unnerved me so profoundly. In that same eerie recovery space, the air vent emitted a distinct rhythmic knocking pattern, 3 times, followed by 2, then another 3 before falling silent. This was no ordinary rattling of loose air ducts. It felt like a deliberate form of communication. In response, I instinctively knocked back in alignment with the mysterious rhythm, acknowledging the unseen presence that seemed to inhabit the space. In my hospital, there's a curious legend about a little girl in a polka dot dress who supposedly visits patients before they pass away. Some find her presence endearing, while others find her bothersome and demand she leave their room. Interestingly, those who mention her often find a knot tied in their sheet afterward, adding a whimsical touch to the tale. As for personal experiences, we have a room tucked away in the back hall, fondly referred to as the Green Mile, where strange occurrences frequently take place. The call light will inexplicably go off or the TV will turn on, even when the room is vacant. Venturing into the room to investigate always brings an unsettling sensation, as if someone unseen is observing your every move. One particularly eerie incident stands out from my early days as a new graduate nurse. It was around 3 a.m., with only one other nurse and myself in the nurses' station. With low census and staffing, our aide and charge nurse were on a break downstairs. Suddenly, we both heard a chilling scream for help echoing down the hall. Reacting simultaneously, we darted in the direction of the sound, confirming afterward that it was unmistakably female. However, upon reaching the source, we found all the male patients sound asleep, and no one else on the floor seemed to have heard the cry. It left us with a sense of unease that lingered long after the incident. Another less unsettling encounter occurred when that same nurse and I found ourselves alone in an empty room, perhaps preparing it for an admission. Engaged in conversation, my colleague casually leaned against the bed, only to witness it inexplicably rise about 5 or 6 inches, as if someone had activated the bed's controls. Laughing off the peculiar occurrence, we jokingly attributed it to the mischievous antics of the hospital's resident ghosts, adding a lighthearted twist to our paranormal encounters. Thank you for joining me on this spine-tingling journey through the eerie world of nursing nightmares. If you enjoyed these hair-raising tales, don't forget to hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to Cat Files Chronicles and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on our next chilling installment. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and may your dreams be free from the shadows that lurk in the night. This is CL signing off from Cat Files Chronicles. Good night and sweet dreams, if you dare.